Hi guys, I want to talk about a fail that I once had so I can protect you from this happening to you. Now, this is a relatively complicated situation, but I'm going to try and explain it as much as I can so it protects you in your test, in your learning with your instructor or your accompanying driver, and also for your life afterwards. Okay, so the fail that I'm talking about is I had a student go to test once and the examiner asked her to take the next road on the right. My student was coming up extremely quickly, and when she got to where the turn was, unfortunately, because she hadn't planned the whole situation correctly, she was going immensely fast and the turn was upon her, and her choice at the time was to brake heavily and take the turn. Now, this is dangerous because the person behind is not going to be able to cope with that necessarily, and they could just go straight into the back of her. So I'm afraid she failed for braking purposes for turning right. So ideally, in this situation, she should have not taken the turn. Now, I know it's a pretty much of a disaster anyway, but we need to keep the situation as safe as physically possible. So my strong advice to you first is to see where the turn is. When the examiner says to you, take the next road on the right or take the next road on the left, make sure that you see the turn that he's talking about first. Don't just put your signal on when you hear Mira's signal, because you're not planned, yeah? I made another video about the same thing when you're trying to pull up on the left. Don't just signal straight away before you know where you're going to pull up. Don't just signal straight away when he says take the next road on the right, yeah? On the sat-nav, yeah, if the sat-nav says, in a mile, turn left, if the student's not listening properly, they're going to go Mira's signal. And that turn's a mile away, right? So see the turn, yeah, that you're going to be making first. Now, she herself should not have taken the turn. Now, she's put the signal on, which is a disaster anyway, but the safety of that would have been, I'm sorry, the turn's upon me. She should have checked her mirrors and cancelled the signal. Yeah. And she might have got away with it, maybe, because it was a right turn. So she doesn't have priority over the oncoming person. So to be honest with you, she may have passed her test potentially because the oncoming person is got priority anyway. He's going to go past. The person behind, if the road was wide, may have been trying to undertake her if she was in a position to turn right. That could be dangerous. But if we're talking about a road where the people are still behind her and not able to undertake her because she hasn't been able to get to the right in a right position, there's a slight possibility that she may have still passed her test and got a minor for incorrect signal. Okay, so that's the best possible view. If you are turning left and this problem has arisen, I'm afraid the whole situation is probably a fail anyway. But if you're coming up extremely quickly and you've gone Mira signal and then the left turn is upon you, again, I'm afraid you've probably failed anyway, because the signal going on is incredibly dangerous if there's somebody in the T-junction because they're going to pull off in front of you. And if you decide, there's the turn, slam your brakes on to take the turn, the person behind you is going to potentially go into the back of you. On your test, I still recommend that you don't take the turn. The situation, it's a complicated one, right? If you're turning left and you're going too fast, I'm afraid it's probably a fail, whatever you do, right? But if you've come up really quickly and you put this signal onto the left, if you brake heavily and there's somebody behind you, that is severely dangerous, okay? So if you are able to use any brain power that you can and you're like, oh my God, I'm coming up really, really quickly. If you check your mirror and there is absolutely no one behind you, then braking heavily would be safer than usual, but it's still a bit of a disaster, isn't it? Going past the turn with the left signal on is an absolute disaster and usually a total fail, because if there's somebody in there, then they could pull out in front of you. So the situation would have to be lived and seen through. A left turn with a signal on at speed is probably going to make you fail 100%. But not taking the turn is probably the option there, because let's hope that the person inside the junction, inside the left turn, can see that you're coming up way too quickly and would not come out anyway. If you were to turn your signal off and go past it at speed, I still think you're going to fail. So, because of how dangerous it is. So my strong advice to you is look for the turn before you put your signal on. The process of putting the signal on is just so pressurized. As soon as you put that signal on as a learner, you've given yourself all of this pressure and you think that you have to do what you've signaled to do. It's a tricky one, right? But I think the moral of the story is, don't put the signal on until you can see the turn that you are going to make. All right? It's just so important. All right? See it and plan for it and know which one you're going to be doing so you can get the mirrors and the signal in and you can slow the car down appropriately for the turn in the safest possible way. All right, guys, I really hope this information saves you on your driving test. Okay, guys? Good luck with it all. Take care.